Hey, Reg, thanks for coming back on the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Well, I know we spoke many moons ago and we spoke many times and we always have a fantastic conversation. So I'm really pleased to get you back on. But for the people maybe hearing of you for the first time, and yep, there are people out there who don't know about Reg Lenney yet. How would you describe yourself and who are you?
How would I describe myself? I'm a hyper guy that doesn't like to fail with anything, really. So I'm the detective of health and wellness is how some people like to describe me.
The detective, I like that.
I get into the core of what's really going on with somebody. So instead of looking at an issue, whether it be a weight problem or a chronic ailment or illness or pains or whatever, rather than trying to sell a bunch of stuff or, follow the same path that most people take, I take way step back and a bigger overview to understand why somebody's dealing with that type of thing.
Yeah, because I always think of you as the coach to the stars, so to speak. And it's quite sort of fashionable and quite common now to hear about the holistic coach. But I think I can honestly say I've never met a more holistic coach than you. You literally take in absolutely everything and you don't make any assumptions. You don't assume where the problem's going to be because
you can't.
You don't know. You literally treat it. And I've never heard you describe yourself as the detective before, even all the conversations we've had. But that actually is quite apt. You do. You look at it like an open book and say, right,
sure,
where's the problem? So
absolutely.
You clearly got your own framework and your own model for working with your clients. How did that develop? Where did the influences come from?
Well, it came from just researching. Like I said, I'm very hyper when it comes to it, and I get frustrated with the same old. So through all the schooling and all the education and all the courses that I've taken, everybody always says, well, this is it. It doesn't matter if you're talking about supplements or if you're talking about therapies or whatever, people kind of buy into this is what you do and this works for everybody. And I've just found that it doesn't. No matter how much you want it to, no matter how much you believe in it, it's everything affects everything. And nothing works for everybody and everything works for somebody, for somebody.
Yep.
So, so my philosophy is to kind of eliminate my pre-thoughts of what's going on and deal with the individual from a blank piece of paper and just grow from there.
Yeah. What you're saying rings true with some of the other coaches I was speaking to recently, because everyone wants to go to the science, the science of how the body gets in shape, the science of how the body gets fit. And let's face it, I do too, because if there's a way to get fact from fiction, then of course you're going to go with the facts, right? However, the science, as you've kind of taught me, isn't always telling you the truth. For instance, most of the science I'm aware of is on athletes. There's not a lot of science on getting people from couch potato to moving, because nobody really wants to put any money or research into that. But all of the money and research seems to be in athletes, which, without being unfair to the general population, they're not like us.
That's for sure.
So how are we supposed to take the scientific journals of how an athlete added X% onto his VO2 max and take that to the man or woman on the street? What do we do with that information?
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But that's the same with most programs. People are buying all kinds of programs and trying all kinds of things. And, they get frustrated and they get upset and they get hurt and they get bothered, and they say all this hokey pokey witchcraft stuff doesn't work. Well, of course it doesn't. It's the wrong things for the wrong people in the wrong way, wrong reasons.
Well, I've followed you for some time, so I've got your book, Be You. I got it off Amazon, and it's inside. It's got the 10 keys, and well, hopefully you're going to elaborate a bit on some of those keys today, for the uninitiated, so to speak. But I guess before I read the book and before I really got deep diving into it, I was expecting some of the similar stuff, like be healthy, eat well, move. But that was only a fraction of what I got out of this book, which just goes to show just how holistically you go into the environment and all of the influences and everything that affects us, which I hadn't even considered. Like, for instance, there's a chapter on getting new furniture. Now, I hadn't even thought for a moment that new furniture could be hindering my goals. So how did you find out this sort of stuff, and how many people will need to hear this?
Well, I think everybody needs to be aware, and that's the thing. It's not about buying programs and spending money and that sort of thing. It's more just being aware, being aware of your beliefs, being aware of your environment, you know, and the key is be simple, make it easy for yourself. You know, so many people dive so deep into things and they just get overwhelmed, and they, you know, and that's why most people don't do the things that they could and should be doing, because it just seems so overwhelming, too expensive, too difficult. You know, why would I do that? You know, and all these types of things. So, you know, if you make things simple for yourself and you understand the groundwork of it and the reality behind it all becomes very simple.
Yeah, and my own limiting belief, I guess, as a family man, and you'll have numerous ways around this, being the coach you are, but I'm always like, well, it's not enough time. So a lot of things require preparation, and if you've made it complicated and if you've sort of over obsessed on different things, you don't do it because it's not convenient or you haven't got the time or it's too complicated. But then
Yeah,
that's not a good answer, is it, Reg?
well, it's not really an accurate answer, I think, is the point. You know, you're going to make time for anything that you find important, right? Or that
Yes.
you enjoy, right? Or that you're interested in. And the reason most people don't find the time for things is they either don't understand it, they don't want to understand it, or they've had a sample of it and it didn't work for them, or, you know, whatever. It's usually a bad experience or bad knowledge is what it comes down to. But as far as time goes, I mean, we either take control of our time and we're active in our life, or we don't take control of our time and we become reactive, which is what most people are. You know,
Yep.
they just kind of get up in the day and take things as it comes, you know, dealing with things all the time. And usually they've surrounded themselves in an environment or in relationships or in work that they don't really want to be doing anyways. So already they're starting their day rough, you know, and then they're going into things that they don't want to do, you know, and the day is full of things they don't want to do
And then it
with
goes
people that
downhill
they
from
don't want to
there.
be doing it with. Yeah, yeah. So, you know, and it becomes very stressful, which makes it very understandable why there's obesity problems and why there's addiction, why there's depression. You know, if you wake up in the morning and you don't like the person beside you, and you don't like the home you're in, you don't like the town you're in, you don't like the job you're going to, and you don't like the car you're driving, you know, and, you know, by the end of the day, of course, you need a cigarette or a drink or some drugs or something just to, you know,
Yeah.
help you make it all worthwhile. Jeepers, you know, I suck for 10 hours a day, so I got to do something to make me feel better. And I'm heading to the pub, or I'm heading for a cigarette or whatever. So it makes perfect sense.
Of course it does, yeah. And that's the danger. I think more of us self-medicate than we realize we do. Like you said to the average person, you know, how do you self-medicate? They go, what do you think I am? Like, I don't do things like that. But
Of course
we do. That's the nature of the beast. That's what we
Yeah,
do.
it's either with food or with alcohol or with television or with bad habits or whatever. They're self-medicating with something.
Yep. And again, you can only self-medicate if you need to change something. Hence, the detective comes in, take away the problem. You don't need the medication anymore, do you?
Exactly.
Whatever it may
And that's
be.
proven over and over. And again, this is where the hokey pokey witchcraft stuff comes in. People say, oh, that's just craziness, you know, and, you know, the body can't do this, and you need doctors, and you need drugs, and you need this, and you need that. Well, if that's what you believe, then you're absolutely right. But the reality is we have millions and millions and millions of case studies worldwide where miracles happen, you know. Well, why does it work for some and not for others, you know? And that's why you got to take a step back and look at all aspects of it.
And this is interesting. So to kind of take a step back, if I recall, you did actually start off with traditional medicine training, right?
Yes.
So you've got a background in what we understand to be, I suppose, traditional medicine. You know,
Mhm.
you know where it works, where it doesn't work. You've got your own views upon it. And
Mhm.
what made you go away from it? What made you look for an alternative?
Well, because the medical world, I love science and I love the medical world, and I've got many, many doctors that I work with, so I'm not against it at all. And all the way through my book, I keep reassuring, you know, that I'm not against it. But everything's got its time and its place. And in the medical world, I mean, everybody knows you go in to see your doctor and you say, I got a stomach ache, and he writes you a prescription, you know. But why have you got a stomach ache? You know, could be a million different things, you know. So here, we'll try this. If it doesn't work, come back. And I just didn't want to do that. I got into it's not even like I really had a choice. And it's funny, as I say that, I know that we all have a choice, but my passion was in helping people and finding the reason for things. And that was kind of ingrained into me with my own father. And we've spoken about that a few times. You know, I was born into a family of ailment and illness. And, you know, the medical world tells us that it's all in the genes, you know. So according to that strategy, I should already be dead because everybody in my family's dead of cancer, or mostly cancer, other diseases, but mostly cancer. I just didn't buy into that. I was like, sure, if you follow the same routines as your family does, you're going to have the same results, which is common sense.
Well,
but
and
it's not in
typically,
the
I guess you
genes.
will. You'll follow in your footsteps, won't you? Follow the habits and the lifestyle, and
Sure.
you won't realize actually you're doing the same things that they did that made them sick. But
Exactly.
if you,
So I loved medicine. I loved the science world, but I just knew that this was just part of the puzzle. And
yeah,
I just wanted to learn more. And that's for 33 years. That's what I'm doing. I take courses constantly and, always upgrading and always learning and always trying to figure it out. Each client I work with is something different. I learn something new, so yeah, I love it.
well, it mirrors it. A few weeks ago, we had a lady on the podcast called Yerga, and her husband ended up with quite serious Crohn's disease. And funny enough, like, she came from a different angle, because she obviously went there because her husband was sick, and she ended up doing a lot of study and taking her own responsibility. And her view in the end was, the medical system was fantastic at when you've got a real issue, they get you up on your feet and they sort you out. But she said, well, when there was something that was like prolonged or a lifestyle issue, she said it wasn't their fault, but they maybe just aren't equipped to deal with it. It's a case of like, if you got a
Well,
problem,
that's the key.
yeah,
Sorry. Yeah, that's exactly, you're right. No, but that is the key point right there. It's not that the doctors are doing something wrong. It's not that they don't care. It's not that they don't want to. But you
exactly.
just have to, again, take a look at what is their training. And not only what is their training, but what are their rules? I mean, how many doctors are losing their license because they're talking about natural health and wellness? I mean, that's one of the easiest ways to lose your medical license. So these loving, caring doctors who want to help people, who have just spent 20 years or more going through school and spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars or pounds or euros on their education, now they're into a system where someone comes along and says, if you do this, you're going to lose everything that you've worked your whole life for. So get in line, do what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
Some doctors do, some don't. The ones that don't usually lose their license. They end up with a bad name. They end up with a bad reputation, and sometimes they end up dead or missing, right? So unfortunately, that's the way this world is at the moment.
Absolutely. And you've said right from the start that everyone's got their own real individual blueprint of what's healthy for them. Okay. Although obviously I've got the BU, I've got the 10 principles. Are there some principles which are kind of universal, which maybe as a population we're not mindful of enough?
All of them.
All of them. And for people listening today, because I'm thinking particularly in terms of the lockdown. So, I'm looking left and right at people who are kind of panicking. They've got a lot of anxiety, and the stress levels, I would say, speaking to a lot of my friends and family, they're almost not taking care of themselves because they're panicking so much about things like finances, about things like their career, about things like, I guess, just breaking from the norm. When you break someone's pattern, they panic over things they don't even know they're panicking or why they're panicking about. It's just change of routine makes people panic. And
Sure.
I've wondered if there's more basic things that they should be keeping in front of mind to keep themselves safe. Because let's face it, theoretically, we're supposedly fighting a virus. Therefore, not many people, if I ask them, despite the fact we've been in lockdown for quite a long time in the UK, if you ask the average person on the street, I say, well, how would you develop your immune system to protect yourself from a virus? I'm not convinced many people would have a good answer. And I get the sense...
Well, most people don't buy into it. That's why.
Okay. When you say they don't buy
So
into
that comes
it,
around to key number one, which I believe is the most important: beliefs.
Beliefs. And that's a big topic. And if you're okay with it, I think we should sit on that one for a bit, because beliefs is huge. And
well, beliefs is everything.
Yeah, well, belief will change your world, literally. And I don't think people go, oh, I don't believe, I do believe, I don't believe, I do believe. But most people aren't aware of what they do and don't believe. It's so automatic. It's so subconscious. So,
well, if they look at their actions rather than their thoughts, it'll become very clear on what their beliefs are.
Yep.
Why they're living the life that they're living, why they are where they are, doing what they're doing, living in the body that they're living in. It's all to do with their beliefs, all of it.
So for someone who's maybe not even started that journey, not even considered that, where would you start with a client in terms of their beliefs, or would it just more be a case of speaking with them and really sort of doing your own sort of, not interrogation process, but your own discovery?
Well, only you know yourself. So I just get people that, again, keep it simple. Don't go deep, and you don't have to hire a psychologist or a psychiatrist or get into all this kind of stuff. But it's just a matter of being aware, why you're making the choices that you're making. You can start writing down just in bullet point form, just really short, really simple, your thoughts of what are your beliefs, and just start going, why I'm in the house that I'm in. Why am I married or not married? Or why do I have kids or not kids? Or why do I do the job that I do? Why am I making the choices I'm making? Why am I eating the foods that I'm eating? Pretty much everything, and you can see that, it becomes very, very clear that a lot of people are living a life that goes against their beliefs, which is why they're having the issues that they're having. And to keep it simple, if every time you're about to do something, whether it's putting something in your mouth or going somewhere or making a choice, is this making me feel good? Is this helping me? Is this taking me towards my goals? Do I have goals?
Absolutely.
And when we start to question these types of things, what's my purpose for being here? One of the biggest issues with depression and issues and ailment and problems is that people just don't have a purpose. They have no idea why they're here, what they're doing, what their goals are. Because again, coming back to beliefs, they've been told this is what you're supposed to do. If you grew up in a medical world, you're supposed to be a doctor. You grew up in a legal world, you're supposed to be a lawyer. If you grew up from a low-class family, then you're supposed to whatever, brush floors or clean toilets. And that's your belief. That's all I'm good for, right? And that affects people in the most dramatic ways, So just by taking a step back and realizing, oh man, I do have choices. I can literally get up right now and make a choice, a different choice, and do things differently. Now, is that scary? Yeah. And there's problem number two. A lot of people don't change their beliefs or don't try or do something different because of whatever. They have to, they can't, they don't want to, they're scared. They tried it before and it didn't work, so they get right back into their routine where they feel safe. Some people love being comfortable in their uncomfortable life, because that's what they know.
Yep.
So, and that's the hardest part about being a coach. You can bring things to people as awareness, and you can tell them whatever, you have a choice. You can do anything you want, Dean. But if you don't really believe it, you don't really want to, you're scared, you don't know how, what do? You might try it for a little while. No, it didn't work. Back into your old routine. Next year comes around. Okay, New Year's resolution. Gonna try it again. It didn't work again. And why? Why isn't it working? Are you hanging around the wrong people? Are you taking the wrong advice? Are you trying to do something that doesn't work for you? You're trying to do something that you don't really want to do, but you're doing it because everybody says you should, or because it worked for somebody else, or whatever. So again, it keeps coming back to beliefs.
Yep.
And this is the importance of hiring coaches and mentors. And I know so many people get so upset at me when I say that, oh, you just want to sell your service. No, I don't care if you hire me or anybody else. Hire somebody, work with somebody. Or, another thing that I say to people, if you haven't got any money and you don't feel like spending any money on something, you don't see the value in it, go find an old folks home or go find an old neighbor, because these people are full of wisdom and knowledge. Go find an old person sitting in a park or something and just go and chat with them. Man, these people are full of wisdom and they'd love to share it with you, and just start opening your mind a little bit. So I think that's one of the most powerful things I did as a kid, because when I was growing up, my dad was sick my whole life. So I didn't have a father as I was growing up. And I hated school and all kinds of problems, as problem children do. And they're in, a situation like that where they've got no parents, or there's all kinds of issues, and, you don't really know what to do, and you kind of lose your way. So you just do whatever, right? Try to find our way through this life. And that's, again, coming back to being reactive. Most people don't know how to live the life that they want to live, and it's frustrating and it's painful and it's hard and you feel alone and nobody understands you. And you try to talk to somebody and all they do is slam you down even harder. What's your problem? Get up and go to work. Stop being a baby. Put on your big boy clothes,
Yep.
You think, well, I've been doing that for 10, 15, 20, 30 years and it sucks. I flipping hate it, but because of your beliefs, you stay there. And this is the importance of hiring a coach or a mentor or working with somebody, not in your family, I suggest finding a stranger, working with people that you don't know, because being around people that you know is just going to keep you where you are. You got to get out of that if you're not happy where you are. You know, find somebody that can really work for you, with you. You know, they haven't got an ulterior motive. They're not, you know, going to build up a bunch of information on you and then use it against you later, you know, or they're not going to listen to your stories and then go tell all your friends. You know, a mentor or coach, you know, is there specifically for you, right? And listen to you and understand, hey, what's really going on and what do you really want to do? And what are the problems? How do we get you from where you are to where you want to go? And I like using the example of a yoga instructor. You know, if you've ever tried yoga, I've seen this example. Yeah,
I wouldn't say I was great at it.
Try. Did you try walking ever before when you'd never walked before?
Hey, I got the hang of that after a while. You know, I did pretty good at that in the end.
After a while. So what did you have to do?
I had to persist.
Yeah. So you go to one yoga class and you try it. Well, I can't touch my toes, so I'm no good. I can't stand on my head. You know, can't do it. You know, and people do that in life, and it's just like, holy mackerel. You know, I don't get it. You know, and that's where a mentor or a coach will grab you and go, come on, what is it that you really want? And after discovery and after figuring out who you really are and what you really want and what kind of a life you really want to be living and what kind of body do you really want to be living in? You know, what's really important to you? Okay, well, now we're getting clear, you know, and nailing down what your purpose is, what your passion is, what do you really want? What kind of a lifestyle do you really want? You know, then things start to become easier. And it's not always having a clear picture. I mean, I'm pretty clear. When I say the word clear, I know what it is that I want to do and how I want to do it. Do I know how it's going to happen? Do I really know what it's going to look like by the time it's done? I haven't got a clue. You know, because as we go into things, we learn things and things change and whatever. But, you know, if you've got that perception of what it is that you're aiming for, if you know what your passion is and your real purpose is, you know, you can work towards that and be very willing to change, you know. And I mean, I can use again me as an example with that. And why have I expanded out? Why do I have 10 keys? You know, why not 2 keys? Right?
Well, if it worked with 2, you would.
Yeah, you know, and it's just because, you know, you go into something and you try and you go, okay, well, this is kind of cool, but it doesn't really work, or it doesn't really fulfill, or it's not really what I expected. You know, okay, well, was there anything that you liked about it? No, it all sucked. Okay. Or yeah, okay, well, I liked this part, but I didn't like the other 90%. Okay, cool. Let's take that 10% and see what else, right? And by doing that, you become clearer and clearer and clearer, and you may end up with a dream that you could never have dreamed before, but it's way better than you could have ever imagined. You know? And I see that over and over again, because again, we're looking from our own perception. One of my favorite sayings is, you're in a different movie than I am. I have no idea what's going on in your mind. You know, and this is I do a relationship course with people who are about to be married, people who have been married for a while, people who are looking to have children and all that sort of thing, because I find that, you know, it's very important to make sure that your body is healthy and your mind is healthy before planning to have children, because you remember, you're bringing 2 people together. Anything that's in you and in your wife is going into that kid.
Yeah.
Right? So if you've been drinking or drugs or bad food or whatever, you've got problems and issues with your body, well, do you really want to pass that on to your children? You know, and there's ways of clearing that out before. So, you know, all these different courses that I do, it's all about getting clear on who you really are and what you really want before you do it, so that you can avoid all the issues and problems and get, you know, spend your time doing the things that you love more than spend your time failing on things that you don't really want to be doing.
Oh, there is so much in what you just said. And I guess you're at the other side now, where you understand beliefs and, you know, you've got your own beliefs sort of in check. For the average person on the street, I still think it's a bit of a foreign language, so to speak.
It is.
You know, because most people, A, they don't really understand what they believe at any rate. And B, when you say, well, why do you have that house, that car, that job, you know, the same car, house, job they've been complaining about for the last week. When you say, why do you have it? They'll go, well, I didn't choose it. It's just what life threw at me. Yeah. You know, I didn't choose to be in this situation. I didn't ask.
So then don't complain about it, because...
Yeah, but it's that lack of recognition.
You absolutely did. You would not be sitting in that chair in that house if you didn't choose it.
Exactly, but for many, there's a lack of recognition.
Somebody didn't handcuff you and haul you over there.
No, I mean, like, I'm talking about the facetious where they might say, well, I wanted to be in a mansion, but this is all I could get, and it's that lack of belief.
Okay, so you settled then. So you made a choice to settle for where you are rather
Yep.
than the mansion.
And this is, I think, where people need to really have that sort of exposed to them, because again, in order to change your belief, like you rightly said, what do you want? What do you really want? And then, get after it. And you made it quite clear a few times, like we speak obviously in and out of this podcast as well. And I know that you've got some massive goals, but even though you don't know how you're going to achieve it, you're going to, because that's part of the belief system, right? However, for the average person, if they said, if you didn't know how to do something, I beg your pardon, do someone.
Well, that one too. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going wayward in this conversation. But if you don't know how to do something, can you still believe that you can do it? And I don't think a lot of people can naturally without sort of having gone through this process, because I think to a lot of people it just sounds ludicrous. What? Hang on a minute. I've got no idea how to do something. I've never done it in my life before. I can't even get a clear image of what it'd look like because I've never been in that environment. I've only got a rough idea of what I'd like it to be. And you're telling me that I can do it if I want to? That blows a lot of people's minds, and going back to all the points you made earlier, everything is belief, right? And we always come, one of my things at the moment is you can't outperform your own self-image. So if you've got a belief that you can't be that kind of person, then guess what?
You're right.
It doesn't matter how hard you try, you'll prove yourself right. So what tends to happen, like the guy in the yoga class is a great example, people like me can't do yoga. And then you go, why don't you give it a go for 10 weeks and see how you get on? 10 weeks later, see, I told you I was crap at it.
Yes, and there's the word. I knew it. I knew I was going to be wrong. I knew I couldn't do it.
I told you I'd fail.
Well, that's why you couldn't do it.
Yeah. And then, I
mean, that's the point right there. And people say that all the time. Oh, I knew it wouldn't work. Do you think that might have had something to do with why it didn't work?
Well, but that takes a bit of recognition. So people go, well, no, it's not because of my belief. It's just fact. I can't do it. And that is the kind of blockages, well, yourself, you come up against at first, right? And you have to get people to really understand that actually. And then there's the second phase I find where it's like, and I'm kind of in that place myself, where it's like, okay, I believe I can do it. But do you believe it? When you understand that all you got to do to achieve it as a prerequisite is believe you can. Then you intellectually know this. You intellectually know that you can do anything that you really believe you can do. It's still not simple to just suddenly believe it, is it?
Definitely not.
And that's where some of the work takes. And that's also, if your belief is a bit lacking and a bit weak, you're easily going to revert back to the "see, I told you so," because there is that element of, what we all know, that you get to be someone as a person before the result manifests out in the external world. Okay,
exactly.
So you got to get there first, and then the result comes later. But we're all impatient people, right? It's YouTube, it's Netflix, it's Google. I want it now. Like, I passed the exam, give me the prize. It's like, well, it takes a little bit of time to manifest. You get the results that match who you are, not who you'd like to be. If the result comes when
you get the results that you believe. It's not who you are, because I see many people who are highly, highly intelligent and capable that are failing over and over and over and over and over. It's not because of who they are.
Well, when I say who you are, I'm thinking about the self-image, because I do believe that everyone's got their own self-image, and you can't outperform it. It's almost like your upper and lower level on your comfort zone. And
yes, you're right.
And as you pointed out, and like it better than I do, it doesn't have to be logical. It is.
But that's the point of hiring a mentor or a coach. It's because a mentor will save you decades of time and endless cost and expense. People say, oh, I can't afford a mentor. Okay, well, how much is it costing you to live the life that you're living now? How much is it costing you to not achieve what you want to achieve? What does that cost you? And not just in money, but in health and happiness and fulfillment and relationships, everything.
Well, for many people, it's adding up the cost of never having it. But
it's far more than that. Life is not a dress rehearsal. If you're not going to live the life that you want, or the life that you could be living now, when are you going to do it?
So if someone's listening to this now, which hopefully loads of people are, you know, worldwide, global, and they're having a little bit of trouble getting this sort of straight, the idea that all they've got to do is change their belief. What would you say to that individual?
Yeah, well,
I say all you
good
got to
question.
do. Obviously, it's only 1 key out of 10, but you know, if we stick with beliefs for the time being.
Yeah, well, I would say question your beliefs and get very, very clear on what you really want. You know, because people say, "Oh, I want this." Do you really want that? Well, no. Okay, what do you really want? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a problem. There's a problem.
Absolutely.
You know, and again, I like to use a boat as an example. So if you've ever been on a lake, I like to use a lake as an example because if you're an ocean or a stream, the water's always moving. But you go into a lake and the water is you go down first thing in the morning and it's just like a mirror, right? It's hardly moving. There's no ripples on it, whatever. You drop that boat in there and you get yourself out to the middle of the lake or something. And you look around and you've got anywhere you can go, 360 degrees, you know, pick a destination. Where do you want to go? And they go, well, I don't know where I want to go. Got no oars. You've got no motor. You've got no sail. Well, where are you going to go? You're just going to float. And now you're reactive again. And that's how most people are living their life. But you give them oars. And how are you normally facing in a boat that you're rowing?
Well, I guess you're normally facing forwards as you go backwards.
No, you're facing backwards. You're looking at where you've just come from.
Yeah, I got it asked about face there, didn't I? Because I said going backwards, but forwards is backwards, kind of.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
And most people live their life like that. If you can imagine, every time you row the boat, you leave ripples in the water, right? And if you're rowing, you're watching all the ripples in the past, and that's what how everybody lives their life. You know, they're so concerned. Oh, I remember that ripple. I remember that ripple. I remember that one. Right? And where are you going? Well, I don't know, because I'm too worried about remembering all the negative ripples that I've just gone through. You know, occasionally you're going to turn around and go, okay, I'm going somewhere. I don't really know where I'm going, but I'm rowing. And you know what? I'm going to row harder because I hate these ripples. So I'm going to row faster and faster and faster. Ah, the ripples are still there. You know, and it's just like, oh, why don't you turn around? You know, look where you're going instead of where you come from. You know, you want to turn around once in a while and look at the ripples to remember something. Awesome. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, you know, that's your choice to turn around and look at those. But focus on where you're going. Then you're going to get there. Otherwise, you're just rowing around. You could be rowing in circles. You could row to someplace you don't even want to be. You know, you're so busy looking at where you came from.
Yep.
You know, and that's, you know, that is a frustrating part because, again, so many people, the hardest part about coaching is to guide people to do something, but realize you can't do it for them.
Well, you can't do press-ups
people
for them.
have to, well, you can't do anything for them. Nothing. You know, I can guide it. I can create the awareness. I can show you how.
Yeah.
You know, I can even hold your hand and you know, be there by your side physically as you're doing it. You know, but you have to do it, right? And if you don't, it's not going to change. You're not going to achieve it.
It's that perception. You can't buy the result, right? You can buy the training, you can buy the teaching, you can buy the knowledge, but you've got to apply it. You can't buy the result.
Yeah, and I've had a number of people, very wealthy people, write a huge check.
I've paid enough. How come it's not working?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they give you a check. I've had a number of people say, okay, I paid you, now it's your responsibility to make sure I get there. And I give the check back. I can't do it for you. Doesn't matter. You can make that check 10 times bigger. I'm still not going to make it happen for you.
Well, exactly. And we know from, again, when people go to your site after this, if they want to follow Reg Lenney, reglenney.com, Lenney, they'll see for themselves, you know, you coach the best. So we know for a fact that when Reg Lenney says, I'll give them the money back, he knows you can't do it for them. And
no.
there's no accident that everyone you coach is at the top of their field. So there's
why are they at the top of their field?
They do their own press-ups for a start.
Because they put in the work and they hire people that know where they're going. You know, the thing is most people, they try to achieve something and then they go into social media. I get it all the time. You know, I'll post something on social media about, you know, how to be healthy or how to do whatever. And people go, oh, you know, this and that. And they send me all kinds of other posts, or my aunt said this, and my uncle said that, and cousin said this and whatever. My best friend said that, and they tried this or that. Okay. But how are they living? Have they achieved what it is that you want to achieve? No, but they know better. Okay.
Yeah.
What can you say to somebody like that?
Yeah.
They've already got their beliefs, they've got their blinders on, and they don't even want to try, and all they want to do is tell you how wrong you are for telling other people that they can do what they failed at doing.
Everyone's
Right?
an expert, right?
Everybody's an expert.
Well, we had it
Yeah.
in the UK. So, Brexit happened. Everyone was an expert on politics. COVID-19 kicked in. Everyone was a virologist, but that's just how it is. I guess
That's how it is.
people don't just have an opinion. What they think is the truth. It's fact. And,
Yeah. And they get very upset and they fight for their limitations, is what I like to say. People
yeah.
sometimes die, they die for their limitations.
That was a Bruce Lee quote, wasn't it? Was it, if you fight for your limitations, then sure enough, they will be yours.
Exactly. Yeah. And like Muhammad Ali said, you either win or lose a fight long before you get into the ring.
Yes. Oh, it's so powerful. And again, I'm glad we labored on this point, to be honest, because it's so simple, but it is life-changing when you grasp it. And some people will listen to this recording 10, 20, 30 times, and they won't grasp it immediately. And then all of a sudden the light bulb will go on and they'll realize,
possibly,
because some people get it straight away, but other people, they do have to sort of mull it over in their mind a bit to get their head around what we're saying, if that makes sense.
Well, but again, this is the importance of working with somebody outside of your own realm, outside of your movie, because, you will never see things the way other people do. Again, take relationships as an example, like that famous book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Well, I try to make it even simpler. You are in a different movie than I'm in. I had different parents. I grew up in a different country. I went to a different school. I had different friends. I've had different experiences. How are you ever going to understand me? You and I could sit around and talk for days and days and days. You will never understand things the way that I do, ever. Right? And if you talk to your wife, it's the same thing. She's got expectations and beliefs and wants and needs. You have no idea. And she's getting pissed off that you don't know what she wants. How are you ever going to know what she wants? You're coming in from a completely different movie. I mean, how many times have you walked in to the middle of a fight that you didn't even know you were having?
It's probably going to happen in a minute.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure. But it's not because there's something wrong with her or there's something wrong with you. It's just she's got her movie going and she's living her life and got her expectations and her wants and needs. And she thinks, well, this is my partner and he should know. Well, but you don't know because you're out doing your own thing, living your own life in your own movie. How are you supposed to know what's going on in her head?
Oh, absolutely. And as you said, there's different values and beliefs assigned to things. I've had things in the past in other lives where it's been a case of, if you loved me, you would do. And I'm thinking, well, that wasn't my perception of what love is. However,
Exactly.
Another person in another movie would be like, well, if you love me, this is how you would behave. And it's like,
yeah. Well, if you love me, you wouldn't say that in the first place.
Exactly, and there's no right or wrong. It's just different
No.
movies when they clash. It's like they got different value systems and different beliefs around what it is that you're sharing. But it's interesting.
Well, if you can imagine, I mean, we come from two completely different worlds. You got a husband here and a wife over here, and they were born in different worlds or different countries or different wherever, and at some point in their life, they finally get to a point where they meet, right? They've come one from over here and one from over here, and they come and they meet. And it's all love and exciting and wonderful and terrific. But that's just a brief moment in time. And that's the problem is people think, okay, well, now I find something that I love. I found the car I love, the woman I love, the man I love, the job I love, the whatever I love, the game that I love. They think, okay, now I'm going to hang on to that forever. But it doesn't. You change, they change, your environment changes, everything, life changes, right? And that's where you've gone from this coming together to now all of a sudden you're going in different directions. And that's why people go, well, you're on a different path than me. Well, I was on a different path than you before I met you. We just happened to meet along the way. It's just like running into a friend at Starbucks or wherever, oh, how did you get here? Oh, it's not because you guys planned it or you're on the same movie or whatever. You just, different things brought you together and all of a sudden, that's great. You meet and you do your thing and now you go your way and they go their way, right? And that's life. And if you find somebody that you love living your life with, well, then it's not that person is my whole life. No, your own movie is your own life. That person is coming with you. They're a new character in your movie, right? And if they want to join the same movie and you want to also join their movie, because it's got to be 100%. It can't be you come and join my movie and now we're going to do my way for the rest of my life. Well, that ain't going to last for very long. And we see that all the time. That's why most relationships fail, because two people come together and now one of them goes, okay, well, now this is the way it's going to be. And now you're going to do my movie for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not. And
That's not how it's going to work.
No. And they never can, because they can never get into that same movie because they'll never understand it. Right. But people get upset about that. Well, how come you're not? And why? And this and that. And, they get bugged because you've got two completely different people with different thoughts and different wants, needs, ideas, expectations, and that's where communication comes in. Okay, this is where I'm going. You want to go this way with me? No, I'm going that way. Okay, well, do we belong together? And people don't want to ask those questions, rather they kind of put their head down and keep their mouth shut and, okay, we'll make this work. Like my mom used to always say, marriage is hard work. Okay, well, you believe that. It's going to be hard work.
Well, it's self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You've already said what your belief system says, and therefore that's going to be your reality, right?
Sure. But if people are just bluntly honest, which most people have a very difficult time being, but if you're bluntly honest and just common sense with love, patience, understanding, and clarity about where you are, and you talk about, okay, this is where I'm going. These are the things I would like to achieve in my life. What do you want to achieve? And really want to know. If you love somebody, you really want to know what they want to do.
Well, yeah.
What kind of a life do you want to live? And this comes to key number 2, which I find very important, is environment. I always said one of the most important things I ever did when I changed my business is I started going to people's homes. Because I couldn't understand, why am I not finding out what the issue is with this person? They're telling me all the stuff and I'm interviewing them. I'm trying all these different things.
You walk in the front door, it's like, hang on a minute.
Same problems. Yeah, hang on a minute. Can I come visit your house for a minute? And I go there, and especially guys. I'll go into a guy's house and I'll say, wait, before we walk in the door, how do you feel about this home? That's all right.
It'll do.
Yeah, but do you love being here? Are you excited about coming into your home? Do you feel awesome? Are you 100% you when you walk through the door? No, of course not. Well, instantly, that's creating myriads of problems, isn't it? If you're uncomfortable and you don't like being in the home that you're in, how are you going to sleep there? How are you going to think there? How are you going to eat there? How are you going to live your life there? And then when you walk in the door, a lot of times I walk in the door and I look around and I'll say to the husband, so where are you in here? And the wife usually laughs. Guy's got terrible taste. Oh, if this was his house, if I let him, put this place together, we'd have motorbikes hanging on the wall or a motor in the kitchen or whatever. Stupid things. I'm going, okay. So whose house is this? Is this a family home or is this your home? Does your home represent everybody that lives in it? Does everybody that lives in that home and is living their life and creating their life, do they feel a part of that home? Or do they have to tiptoe around because they're not allowed to do this, they're not allowed to do that, can't do this, can't do that? So, environment and beliefs, those are the top 2. If you don't get those 2 in place, you may as well forget the rest. Doesn't matter how good the food is you're eating, doesn't matter how much you go to the gym, doesn't matter how much yoga you do or how much fun you try to have. If you go home and it sucks, you don't like being there, you wake up in the morning, you don't like the person laying beside you, when you wake up, you roll over and you look and you go, oh, thank God, I'm still with them. Or do you roll over and go, oh my God, I'm still with them.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a dream. Oh no, back to reality.
Yeah.
This is the keys that you're on about, isn't it? I was just flicking through as you were talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's a book well worth having. BU. So I remember getting it and flicking through it. It actually took me a few days to get through it. I thought I'd get through it in record time, but it's quite a lot in there, So. And
I've tried to make it very easy to understand. I didn't want it to be difficult. I want it to be common sense. Anybody can read it. There's only one section, when I'm talking about the difference of medical and, all the different types of therapy and health and that type of thing, that I kind of dove deep just so people could, the people who wanted to could understand and grasp why I am doing what I'm doing, and they can understand kind of my perception a little bit. And then from there, it just goes out, and it's just, I want it to be simple and easy. And again, one of the key things that I did in that book is I never said, this is what you have to do. Nowhere in the book do I say this.
Well, no.
Right? I say, be aware of this.
It's in massive letters on the front. It's be you.
Exactly. Yeah, not be me.
Yeah, be you.
You know, yeah, be you. And here are the 10 things that I suggest you're aware of. And these are the things in these 10 keys that I suggest you're aware of. You know, try this. How does that feel? If it doesn't work, try that. And I like to give, you know, I think I try to give 4 or 5, sometimes up to 10 different suggestions in different areas, just for people to try, you know. And then, of course, I've written books on each of the 10 keys. So I've got the 10 separate books as well, along with the courses and the training and different things that I do on each of them. So, you know, I really try to guide people through it, to guide themselves through it.
Yeah.
You know, because I can't come into your home and your life and say, this is the way you now have to be, because it'll never work for you. But if I say, hey, take a look at this, be aware of that, in your own movie, now you can go, oh, okay, I get that. That makes sense. Now I can just do this. And most of the time, it's a tiny little tweak.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a huge life change. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not.
Well, it's a continual process, isn't it? Like if you try and overhaul the entire thing in one go, then yeah, of course, that's a big ask, you know, and the likelihood is you'll give it a go, you'll crash and burn within a week, and you go, well, that sucked. That's the end of that. But if you pick an area and you work on it and I was about to say that actually, because when you read through it, there's so much within the book that typically you kind of pick up what you were supposed to do at that time, and then you reread it another day and you pick up something else. One of the things that stood out for me the most when I first read through this book, and it seems strange that that's the thing I picked up on most, was actually getting out in the sunlight. When I first read the book, it was the topic of getting outdoors, getting in the sunlight. And I know you had a particular opinion on, you know, suntan lotions and sunblocks. And that was the standout thing for me the first time I read through the book, of actually getting outdoors and getting in the sunlight, which I thought was particularly poignant because during lockdown, the weather's been phenomenal in the UK. Like we probably haven't had a summer like this in a long time. However, a lot of people weren't getting out much. You know, I know like when you read the news, everyone's sunbathing at the beach sort of thing. But the truth was a lot of people weren't getting outside. A lot of people weren't enjoying the weather, but also it wasn't a new thing. Typically on a day-to-day basis, people were commuting to London, sitting in the office, air-conditioned office all day, commuting home, just about having enough time to say goodnight to the kids, going to bed. So it made me think a lot about my own lifestyle, to be honest, Reg. I mean, there wasn't enough hours in the day to be outside enjoying the sun, which sounds like a crazy thing. And obviously, you know, I've heard every bit of word you said. You know, everything that I've done in my life, I designed for myself, right? And there I am reading this thinking, oh, right, so I'm not getting outdoors much. And I probably didn't give enough weight as to the value of what I was missing out on.
Well, because you don't value yourself enough.
Well, no, it's awareness as well. Like, because, you know, the media taught me to be careful of the sun. It's going to give you cancer, you know, and if I do go out in the sun, I should have factor 50, you know, and if I leave my kids to play out in the garden, then I'm not a great dad, because now they're getting scorched and they're going to look 58 when they're only 21 because the sun's ruined their complexion, you know. So there was all these things. So part of me thought, well, hiding from the sun makes me a good person, right? And no, but seriously, like, this is some of the information that's going around, you know. And if you do go,
it comes back to beliefs.
Yeah, and if you go out in the sun irresponsibly, you know, wow, you know, you might get a suntan. I mean, like, be careful, like, what you're going to do, like, yeah. So, and let's face it, because of that lifestyle, I ended up like the typical Brit. I'd go on holiday for a week, come back like a lobster, because it's like the first time my skin has seen the sun in 10 years. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. and then you've got the belief that I can't go into the sun because I burn, and I hear people say that to me all the time. So,
yeah,
interesting stuff.
Yes, I don't know where you got your sort of views on the sunlight, because it is, let's face it, it's counter
facts.
It's counter.
It's called research.
It's counter.
It's called
main
true
media,
facts, rather than reading a report that some pharmaceutical company wrote up. Because, I mean, again, people always send me these reports. Oh, look at this pharmaceutical company, or this. Look at this report that backs up my belief. Okay, where did that report come from? Who wrote the report?
Yeah.
Who funded the report?
Well, now we're going into cognitive bias, right? Because let's face it.
This is just, again, it's common sense facts. If you just start looking at what the facts are, not a belief. I tell people, don't believe anything I say. Go find for yourself, you know, and look outside of the mainstream, because you have all the proof there you could ever need to debunk almost every belief that you have if you just look for actual facts rather than paid for, bought for facts from some big business.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I meant by cognitive bias, because if you've got a real ingrained belief, you'll find the backup to support your claims.
Of course you will.
You know, you
Yes,
get,
you will.
and a bit like what you said about, you know, if you choose your goal and you go after it, well, you find what you're looking for, right? And if you're looking for a way to succeed, you'll find a way to succeed. But if your belief system is, well, people like me never succeed, you'll find the evidence that proves it.
Absolutely. You're always right.
Exactly. You know, and that's the cliche. And that's the challenge sometimes when, you know, people have their beliefs challenged. You go, well, Reg has just challenged what I believe, but I've just gone online here and I can prove myself right. And that's
exactly.
that's what I mean by cognitive bias. Like most people read books which further cement what they already believed.
Exactly.
Not many people read stuff which challenge what they think. It's just human nature, unless, you know, you're working with a coach, you're working with a guide, someone who actually sort of prods you to get out of that comfort zone, and you've actually started thinking in different circles. Think, well, what is the other side? You know, a bit like you look at some of the political arguments. Most people are so clear on it's right or it's left that you say to them, well, what is the argument for the other side? Well, I don't know. I said, well, how can you argue a point if you don't know what the other side is? Like, but most people can't argue the other side. They go, well, how can I even think about the other side? Because it's 100% this. And it's like, well, you got to see it from both sides. You got to be able to entertain it from both sides before you can make a conscious decision of what you believe, whether it's relevant at all.
But that goes really deep, and people can get really lost in that kind of thing. You know, and I always suggest you don't have to go down every rabbit hole, and you don't have to question every belief, but look at the life that you're living in, the body that you're living in. And if you're not happy with that, or aspects of it, and again, comes down to writing down your bullet points. You know, what do you really love about your life, and what do you not love about your life? You know, and get clear about the things that you don't love about your life, and then start questioning why you're there, or how you're achieving that, or, you know, what beliefs are reinforcing that you maintain that type of a lifestyle. You know, and it can become quite simple, but like you said, it's not easy, but it can be very simple.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's simple, but it's not easy. But it is simple. Let's face it. You know, and as you rightly pointed out, you don't have to go down every rabbit hole, but you do have to choose where you want to go.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, to achieve the things that you want to achieve.
Yeah. You know, some of it, like you say, is a distraction, a sideshow, and just a drama.
Sure.
And you don't have to care about what side's correct. It's only a case of, well, I think in the UK, we had a book from the British rowing team of Does It Make the Boat Go Faster? I don't know if you heard that story.
Yeah.
And again, like there's so much trivial stuff going on. It's a case of, well, does it make the boat go faster? And if it doesn't, forget it. It doesn't matter. And that's exactly the same. When you get locked on target, it's like, well, will it get me to the target? No, who cares? Yes, right, now I'm interested.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we can talk all day because we have done many times before, and I've enjoyed every second of them. But what are you working on at the moment, and where can people find your work?
I'm working on all kinds of things. One very large project that I'm not going to share as of yet, but that's kind of where my full focus is on at the moment. Super excited about it. But I do have a number of courses, and of course my book. And I've got a 5-minute mentor program that I just love. I know people keep hearing about masterminds and the importance of them, but I mean, really, if you're not involved in a mastermind, do it, because it will change your world. I've got a little mastermind called the 5-Minute Mentor, where every day I send you just a 5-minute, whatever. It could be a video, it could be an email, it could be something that would only take up 5 minutes of your time that can dramatically improve different aspects of your life. And that is a mentorship program that you can join with me online. And then once a week, we get together and talk in person. And we can either do that in a group or we do that individually, depending on how it is that the individual wants to work. But boy, you start putting positive minds together. It's amazing what can be achieved.
Well, especially when they're minds with no limits, which is all part of
the only limits
right
are the
circles.
ones we put on ourselves, right?
Yeah. And a bit like what you said about the relationships earlier, you know, you are a product of the people you surround yourself with. And it becomes natural after a while that when you change and grow, sometimes those relationships fall away. And that can be hard for people to accept, you know, because
Yeah, but that's big again. That because of beliefs. If you just question that and go, well, your life was fine before they came along. You had some awesome times with them, maybe some terrible times, but whatever. You learned something, you grew, and now for whatever reason, you guys are growing apart. Great. Why is that an issue?
Yeah. Like I say, if you're on
Because
track to
there's
where
a
you want to
lot of
go.
other people waiting to meet you. There's a lot of other experiences waiting for you. If you stay stuck in something that you're not happy, why be there?
Yeah, it's always a choice.
Always a choice.
So the main website for you is reglenney.com. Reg, R-E-G,
Yeah.
Lenney, L-E-N-N-E-Y. Make sure there's
Correct.
the EY on the end, .com. So reglenney.com, all one word. Check it out. 5-minute mentor program is a constant. That's always on, and that's easy to get through on that site.
Yeah.
If not,
Or we can share the link if you've got somewhere we can share the link.
I can add a link to the blog and the show notes. And you're on social media as well. I believe you've got the Facebook page.
Yeah, I do. Just punch in my name. I'm all over the place.
Put it in Google.
And for anybody, so we spoke about what could I give back to your listeners.
Yes.
So anybody who wants to join the 5-Minute Mentor program, I'll give a copy of my newest book, as well as I've got a healthier home guide. And I've got a little guide that's called Exercising That Doesn't Feel Like Exercising. How to tone your body without dieting or going to the gym.
Yeah.
So I will give those to anybody who wants to join up with me on the 5-Minute Mentor program. And that's my gift for you guys today.
So it's not like how to do your own press-ups without doing your own press-ups, no?
It's exactly like that.
That sounds awesome. I need it. All right. Okay, well, again, thanks as always, Reg. It's always fantastic to get you on the show. And it's always fantastic to catch up with you as a friend as well. So I've really enjoyed it.
Cool. All right. I look forward to the next time.